Don't you dare change that station.
Feel the power.
Ant-Man Versus. Starting now.
Hey, what's going on, Music Familia? I'm Ant-Man. I'm hanging out here at the awesome Wonderlust studio right here on the south side of Columbus. We're hanging out with my girl Tiffany and our special guest today, and you are?
Alicia Austen Simi.
It's nice to meet you today.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you for coming in today, ma'am. I appreciate you.
Ma'am.
Military family. I can't help it. That's just how it is.
Girlfriend.
So we're in here talking about Austen House books today and a few other great things that you're a part of. First and foremost, I kind of wanted to ask you, about your business. And I noticed in the bio that it's a mother-daughter duo.
It is.
And I kind of am always about family. So let's talk about Mom and about you and building this Austen House books.
Well, I could talk about my mom for like 10 million years because she's my best friend. We're super close. She's awesome. I got my love of reading and tea from her. So she's contributed like the two biggest loves of my life, basically, other than my husband. So Austen House Books is kind of a continuation of the business she had, which was Austen Company. Also on the south side, may it rest in peace. It was a pandemic casualty, as Tiff knows. It's how we met.
Yes.
So just books and tea is the gift that keeps on giving in my life. And after we closed that, we didn't want to completely shut the door on the idea of having a business, but we just kind of retooled it. We don't actually have a physical location now because that's just difficult and it's expensive, and we didn't want to have to go through all of that again. The main difference also is that I'm the owner this time instead of my mom, so we've kind of passed the torch from one generation to the next. So that's an awful lot of responsibility my mom has given me. So thank you. What else do you want to know?
Well, no,
You're so
What else? Tiff knows it all.
Right, yeah.
But we've never met, so.
No, I've always been fascinated. We were talking a little bit before the show. I come from a population 1,000 family or town. So it's like everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows what's going on. When I moved to Columbus, Ohio, in 2007, I was thrust into the idea of art, movies. All of it was just right here.
And all at once.
All at once. It's almost an overload. But, when you sit down and look at the bookstores and some of the other areas around, a lot of them take a certain path as far as what books they do and whatever. What is your take on that?
Our take is that it's very personal to us. Just because we can get our hands on books for cheap or a good deal doesn't mean we're going to buy them. It's basically stuff that we like or think is really cool, even if it's maybe not our cup of tea. If it looks really cool or interesting, then we're probably going to buy it. So we have a really curated selection. We don't have 2,000 books on our website. I think we're sitting at around 500 right now. And we do add new books, ideas every week. But sometimes it's once or twice a month. But we just have an eclectic selection of books. They're all pre-loved. Instead of saying used, pre-loved just sounds better, I think.
Yeah, they all look in great condition.
They are.
I was looking at your website.
We don't sell things that aren't in good condition.
Yeah.
But it's just an eclectic array of books that we think are cool, and we really want to. We think it in terms of trying to find good homes.
Yeah.
For these books.
And
it's
book
like,
art.
It's
you
like
make book art too.
My mom does.
Yes.
That's 100% her.
All sorts of.
I'm artistic, but I don't have time to do that. So she hand paints books. She covers them with wallpaper samples. She embellishes them.
Wow.
She's very, very good at it. She definitely has that artistic eye. If you saw her house, you would know. Tiff knows. She's just very good visually, so she kind of translates that into these books, and she has the time to sit there and make masterpieces.
Man.
And I don't, but I'm glad she does that because I can't do everything. So she does the super fun visual part, and I really appreciate that because we would not be selling those if that was up to me. And that was 100% her idea. So props to my mom, Kay.
I also wanted to give a shout out today. So our tea today is by one of your favorite tea locations. Would you like to shamelessly promote them?
I will. This is not an ad, but I've been a fan of their tea for probably 15 years. My husband, when we were still dating, and I lived in Cincinnati for a couple years at that point, we went to Findlay Market, and he had to drag me into this tea shop, which I don't know why, because tea is my favorite beverage. I've never had to be like drug into a tea store before, but for some reason I was reluctant. He made me go in. I'm a Earl Grey person, so I was like, what kind of Earl Grey do you have? Well, they had many. They sent me home with their bestseller, Victorian Earl Grey, which is what we're drinking today. It's my all-time favorite cup of tea. I've had this so many times over the last 15 years. They're amazing. It's the tea that we carried at my mom's old business. They have, I believe, 350 plus types of loose leaf tea that they source directly from estates in China. They have really good relationships with tea estates over there. And it's also a mother-daughter business. So that's another reason we were really excited that we were able to carry their tea, is because it's a mother-daughter company. Yeah. But they have really high-quality tea. They're lovely people. So
man, it's delicious.
It's killer. Like I'm a chai person by nature. It's funny. I didn't like tea. I didn't like any of that stuff until I moved to Ohio. And when I moved here, like I went to the actual market downtown on High Street, and they have like this they had at that time was like an emporium kind of thing, and they just walk in and there's like walls of everything. And I didn't know what I was doing. I had no clue. I walked in and I was like standing there, and the gentleman was cool. He walked over and was like, "Can I help you?" And I was like, "Wow, I don't know what to do." So I ended up settling on a black chai tea, and that was pretty intense. What would you say to the community when we're talking about the books? And I know there's been lots of gossip, news. I don't even know the terminology these days to put a finger on that. But a lot of people have been picking sides on what books should be, what books shouldn't be in schools. I wanted to ask you, as a bookstore owner, as somebody that's, knee deep in writing and stuff like that, I wanted to ask you what your thoughts on that were.
I believe that kids should be able to read whatever they want to, and if their parents aren't okay with it, then move on. Other parents might not have your same opinion about those books. Just because you don't want your child to read something doesn't mean that it's not appropriate. It's okay that you think it's not appropriate for your child, but it doesn't mean that it's not appropriate for someone else's child.
What are these books that are not, I'm not in the loop. See, that I'm not a reader, and I'm not in the loop of that. What is it that they're trying to ban?
A lot of the books that they're trying to ban are old storybooks from our childhood that have racial terminology, have a sexual orientation to them. They have some type of a piece of information that doesn't, looking for a proper word here, culturally describe them. I want to say, maybe I'm using the wrong terminology here, but there's a whole list of books like we'll go
I'm
through.
Curious. I'm like, what are these books that are so?
Looks like. Give me 1 second here. Like books on LGBTQ, racism. Let's see here. A Girl on the Shore, Lawn Boy, Genderqueer, a memoir. Let's see, 642, Things to Write About, a handful of others. And these trend into like the whole idea that Charlie Brown, the Smurfs, Winnie the Pooh, Pinocchio, Disney as whole. Some people are pushing that Disney has sexual innuendos through all of their early cartoons and all of their early movies. If you sit back and look at it as an adult, I'm kind of like, I have Disney Plus at home, and I've sat through, because I'm a podcaster and I'm in the media, and I'm like, if you're going to complain about something, I want to know what you're complaining about. And I don't want to know by the local media, because they're only going to cover what they want to cover. And so I started digging into it, and, the biggest thing, so they're pushing right now that research shows that LGBTQ youth are 5 times more likely to die by suicide. So they're running off of the idea that if they can alter these books and they can get some of these things out of here, then maybe they can make it easier on our children psychologically and mentally. Personally, my personal opinion, if my daughter wants to come home with a book that's like the Boxcar Children, that one sticks out in my mind, because it talks about the railroad, it talks about kids being abandoned in a railroad. All the positive that we've been taught and that we know as far as books and Disney and all that is being reformulated to be negative, because somebody somewhere on the planet is offended,
When it usually only takes one parent complaining to a school board to get the ball rolling. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't necessarily even have to be this massive movement of hundreds of angry parents. It just takes one complaint.
Yeah.
Well, look what's happening to my freaking social media right now. Some random person reported me a platform that I've been on social media for a long time, even since MySpace days.
MySpace. Wow.
So it does. It took one person to shut it all down, and it's all needs to be reviewed. So it's one person ruins it for so many people that don't even have a problem with what they're complaining about.
I think there's an underlined thing that I don't know. I hate to throw millennials under the bus, but I feel like millennials, it wasn't until we started pushing into this millennial, pardon my language, bullshit with these kids that are like, oh, my feelings are hurt, dude, I don't make any money, I'm gonna be a TikToker. No, McDonald's is hiring, Little Caesars is hiring, come on, Donato's is paying $15 an hour for drivers, come on, and I think it's just become, it's easier to complain than it is to change. Yeah. And I don't think anything in Ohio or in Columbus, particularly Columbus, until we get the old money out and we get the new money in. The old money is what's making the decisions and what's making it so hard for bookstore owners and for teachers, for educators. My sister-in-law is an educator at one of a unknown, we're not going to name that school, but she was explaining to me the hardships that these teachers and these people are going through with, I want to get this book for them. Oh, but I can't, because there's this list of books that I can't get. So they have to replan their curriculum around that. They have to refocus all of that, So, I don't know, it's crazy to sit back and think about it. But, Tiffany, being in the community, you talking about social media, what are some of the biggest challenges, and I guess this would go for you too as well, Alicia. What would you guys say to social media, and what you guys see from your side of it? What do you have to say about social media today in 2023?
Well, I've been on social media for a long time, since when MySpace came out, and it has really evolved. Well, for me as a business owner, it's really been beneficial to me promoting my business, getting the word out there of all the things that I'm doing, all the influence that I do with Tenacious Tiffany. Up until recently, I haven't really had a lot of negative experience with it. I do feel like a lot of times people don't perceive the truth or present the truth, as to what their lives are really like. I've just had a lot of experience with that.
It's a sanitized version.
Yeah, and That's why I don't put, like, for as much as I do put out there, I really don't share a lot about my personal life on any of my platforms. It's usually all inspirational based or promotion based.
Fashion, I noticed.
Fashion, creation,
Art.
doing art,
Yeah.
and all of that kind of thing, promoting other people and other businesses. But some people utilize it as a weapon of destruction to take down other people, and some people utilize it for the greater of the all good.
Some people kind of use it as like a power trip.
Yes, that too.
Yeah, just because you have a soapbox doesn't mean you should use it.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Like, some people overshare, and I'm like, okay.
I
well,
undershare. You know.
But you know what? That
I think there's something to be said for that.
right.
Yeah.
That leaves a certain mystique to the person that keeps you
Yes.
interesting. Like, I hate. I'm sorry, I shouldn't use the word hate. I dislike boring people. Like it's hard. It's really hard. I'm a very personable person, so like when I am in a room, like I see the ones that are not quiet. Like I notice those people, and those are the people that I'm typically drawn to because I'm like I want to know about you. Like what aren't you telling me? You know, I think that's the natural media mind of my head. Like I need to know more.
That's different. Like it's a one-on-one dynamic when you're in the room with someone versus what you're sharing on TikTok or Instagram.
Right.
Like I have a TikTok account, and prior to having my personal one, I did some stuff for Austen company, but I had never started making videos for myself. I think I've done like 6 videos in 6 months, and you don't see my face in any of them at all. It's always of stuff to do with my writing or my house. Shout out to my bathroom fireplace,
Yes.
which got me my biggest views.
Bathroom fireplace.
Yes.
It's awesome, actually.
My wife is gonna hear this. And
Yes.
be like, I want a bathroom.
I posted during that storm we had in December and ended up with like almost 85,000 views of this 9-second video of my bathroom fireplace. But I would rather do that than video myself.
Yeah.
Even though I acted as a teenager and young adult, I don't want the focus on me. So that's how I use social media, is to put it outward and not inward.
Tiffany, it kind of cracked me up. I want to go back to what you just said a couple minutes ago. You had said that people post all kinds of things that are not their life, but their life is something totally different.
Yes.
I know some people, and I'm not going to name their names on this podcast, but
What fun is that?
they're going to listen to this. And
They'll know themselves.
They're going to know, and they're going to be like, "What'd you talk about me for?" So
Plausible deniability if you don't say a name.
I know digital creators in our own city that travel around to dealerships, ask for test drives, go get a test drive, and take a picture of them with their car and post it on their Instagram, hoping it'll boost their views because people see,
Fancy car.
yeah.
If you can do it in front of someone's like mansion, that ups it even further.
So it's funny that you said that because one of my
really
buddies
exciting.
he drove the car over to Hocking Hills, pulled up in front of one of the gates that happened to be open, and just parked it kind of sexy, and got out and posted a selfie, and he got 60,000 views. Like people are like, "Oh, it's an amazing car." Oh, he's like, "Man,
Not his car, not his house.
No, not any of it." Yeah, and he was like, "Yeah," he goes, "People are stupid. They'll buy anything." He goes, "It helps my reach. It boosts my business. Like whatever." He's like, "You come to my."
Like that?
Yeah. Like
That's Hans's car.
I love when people post their social medias when they're actually engaging in something. Like when you
Yes.
post your content and you're at a hotel and you're overlooking the city.
Yes.
Like there's something about that.
Yeah.
You know, when you guys post
It's
about your
purposeful.
books and
Yeah.
you put your books on your Instagram, it's not just a pile of books in a corner.
Yeah.
You know, you guys take time to post those things, tasteful
Yes.
things.
It takes so much time to photograph
Yeah.
books.
It's-
People have no idea. I spend half of my time photographing books, editing the photo just to the right size,
But you know
uploading
what?
it, writing descriptions.
Yeah.
It takes, and from listing stuff on your website, from
Yes.
Wanderlust, it takes a significant amount of time, which is why I don't have time to paint books, because I'm writing these
Right.
one-line descriptions and taking photographs and trying to find
Yeah.
the right light. for
See, I
these
love-
books.
I have this picture that I keep coming back to because I said stack of books, but man, like you look at the colors and the arrangement, like that's beautiful.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? Like those are beautiful.
Yeah, that wasn't just thrown together.
Right,
It's
yeah.
what's going to look good together. What's the good background? Just trying to find a background that.
I put a lot of thought and time and energy into the posts that I create because I'm a writer too. A lot of people don't even realize that, but I'm the one that's writing all of that stuff.
Yes.
All of that inspiration is coming from me. So I have to take the pictures. I come up with what it is that I'm writing. And, it's very tedious to get it
Yes.
just right because you post the wrong thing and you're not going to get the engagement that you want. It's like
Or the wrong kind of engagement.
Right,
That's
exactly.
just as
Exactly.
Just
so you
as
have to be
important.
very purposeful and want to. A lot of people, and that's good. That's great that some people can just throw stuff out there willy nilly, and they have a gajillion followers, and they're posting about what dress they bought at the mall today. Like, who gives a shit? You know what I mean? That is not inspiration.
No.
To actually put thought into grasping people's attention to think in a different way, you have to put some sort of thought into it.
Yeah.
And so social media can be very tedious because that is your audience. Unless they're here in the studio or in the shop.
Yes.
Social media is your audience.
It's how you reach people.
Yeah, that's how it is today.
Yes. We don't have a physical store, and we ship all across the U.S., so we have to grab people from online,
Yeah.
and you have to do that visually plus with your writing.
Right.
And when you have a business, you can't just throw stuff out there if
No.
it's attached to your name like it is with you.
Right.
You have to be careful because you're not doing something mindless like I'm trying to sell
Yep.
my MLM eyeshadow palette. That's a completely different
Exactly.
type of thing.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I also have had to cut ties with certain people that I've worked with because I don't like their lingo. I don't like. Look, I love the F word more than a sailor.
I can attest
sailing
to
across
that.
the
I
sea.
can too.
Okay.
I'll back it up.
Yes.
Yep.
I love it. But do you ever see me dropping F bombs in my in my feed? Ever?
No.
And the way that I talk is not the way I'm talking when I'm, shooting the shit with some beers with my friends. Like, it's not the same thing. So I've had to cut ties with people and not want to work with them because I'm like, I don't want you actually to represent my business because I don't like how you flow.
Yes.
Yeah.
No offense.
Right.
That
Right.
might work for you, but that's not how I represent myself. And
I think the biggest thing, like from my aspect, being in the media and the music industry since 2013, I noticed a lot of people don't want to do what you're doing for them. A lot of people will come out of the woodwork and say, "Oh, well, you have this and this, so let me grab onto that little bit of a string you have. Let me pull on that a little bit. You tug me through the deep end, like pull me out of the sand." And I think the one thing is like, with my platform, like I'm very direct, very straight, and there are going to be some F-bombs in my posts. There are going to be certain things, but I am not going to go out and. I think other men will understand when they read this. Like, I'm not going to listen to this. I'm not going to go out and proverbially beat my chest until somebody pays attention to me. Like, I'm not going to go out and be like, like, you have to ask yourself every time you post, how many likes is your life worth? If you own a business and you're serious about what you do, you have to ask yourself every social media post you make, how many likes is worth my life? And if you sit down and you think about that for a second, like that's big talk. That's a big picture, And I think some of the musicians and some of the lower end people in the community that don't want to do the work, that just want to ride, don't even understand that concept. So it makes it real hard to succeed and work with people. I've had to cut ties with people that want to be on a show, and they're on a show, but I promote their show 3 times harder than they promote it, I think we've had this conversation here as far as the art studio goes, and I'm sure you've had that situation as well. You know, the situation of like creating an event, and then you're the one that boasts and boosts and pushes and like, this event, this is gonna be great, and then you see like one post from whoever's gonna be here,
from the person it's benefiting.
Yeah, and it's usually the post that you posted. They just shared it. You know, and I don't know how many people are out there listening to us right now, but when you share something, you have a little spot to say something about the post when you share it. So, I don't know, common courtesy, respect, like all these things that we're talking about here, like come down to just being a decent human being and being understanding of your insights. Like, they talk about insights and reach and numbers and all that. I don't look at that stuff because honestly, like, there's going to be 500 people that viewed your content, and only 10 of them are going to be real people that you're actually going to benefit anything from. You know, so...
Well, you can drive yourself crazy looking at the back-end stats, and I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Because it limits you, and then you get kind of frozen. Like, is it worth doing it if I only got X amount of views?
Yeah, you eat yourself alive in the comments and in the insights.
And it wastes time and mental energy. And
yes, ma'am, I agree.
We're all grown people, and I just feel like after a certain point in life, even though technically that's important because you can't sell things if you don't reach people, but you can't focus so hardcore on those stats because you will be frozen. And you'll think you're wasting your time. And then how do you go forward if...
Yeah, I don't think
you
about
focus
things
on that,
like that.
right.
I put out there what I put out there. I go with my gut. I go with the moment, and that's why I've had the struggle with people that I've worked for. They're like, you need to schedule your posts. I'm like, no, because I don't know what I'm going to say 5 days from now.
Yes.
Well,
I might feel completely different. I don't know what I'm going to say, so it's easier for me to just go in the moment, and I inspire people better that way, I think, when I'm not planning it.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Well, how can you plan inspiration?
No, you can't.
That's like, you know,
it just
like...
comes to you.
Right.
People have podcasts and stuff, and I've seen how different podcasts operate, and people come in with notes and bullet points and this and that. And I was like, I love learning about other podcasts. We were talking about that before this. And, you know, the reality of it is like, you just got to look at your audience and be accepting of your audience. Don't think about you, think about them. You know, and my thing, the whole spontaneity, like with this interview, like, or this podcast, for instance, like, I'm going to go home, I'm going to cut out all the wah-wah, but it's going to get posted the way it is. Because I'm a transparent person. You're either going to like me or hate me, but at the end of the day, you're going to respect me because I was 100% with you from day one.
Because it's a genuine product. You're not sanitizing what's going on.
Yeah,
well, that's why you and I our friendship has lasted. It started as me coming into your coffee shop or your tea shop, excuse me.
Coffee and tea, yes.
Because I know you despise
coffee.
You're not the only one. Cheers to that.
Yes.
Cheers. Clink. Can we clink? Yes. But I love, like, one of my favorite things to do is get up in the morning and come in and I would get sucked into the vortex of Kay or Alicia, and I wouldn't leave.
Except I would never be there in the mornings.
Right, so I'd be like, well, I might as well wait for Alicia to get here, and then I'd talk to her for 2 hours.
Because my husband was the one who would open because he's a morning person.
But I moved a lot of my artwork and things over to help.
And events and,
to help them.
It kept us going.
Yes.
And it started multiple friendships.
Absolutely. And we have some good stories. Like,
my goodness.
People that have been coming in and out of there.
Yes.
And, it just has...
And the stories continue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because she reached out to my mom.
Yeah.
And it's been almost 2 years.
We can call it spilling the tea.
Hey!
I will totally produce that.
Spilling the tea.
I'll just sit here, hit the record button, and make it out. Y'all can talk.
Spill the tea.
Right. I like that.
Seriously, like we'd be in here all day.
Right. And at some point, I'll switch over to a little shot of whiskey in my tea.
Oh, you know what? Hey.
It's a little early for that today.
That's what the Albanians would do. They would Rocky Rishi.
Yes.
Rocky, man, I haven't heard that common. Wow, it's been a long time since I heard that.
Woo! I smelled it one day. I was like, oh, no.
Got a contact high just from smelling
I'm
it.
not drinking that. It's like,
I can only do like a sip at a time, and then
God,
I
it's
would
so
alway go back for like a
strong.
second sip.
Woo,
Not a
just
second
smelling
shot, a
it.
second
Yeah.
sip.
I've never had it. I know people that use it, drink it, and I've smelt it, and I was just like,
It's strong.
I don't even understand how you're walking.
It's very hardcore.
yeah, but they would sit there all day and just. That's why they were sitting there all day.
Yeah.
Now I know.
It's the secret.
Well, it's like,
But a shot of whiskey in the tea, if we do spilling the tea.
I messed up with sake one time because I'd never had sake, and my boss took us out for a Christmas dinner, and he was like, "Oh yeah, drink." I was good until I walked outside and the fresh air hit me. Once the fresh air hit me, I was over. Like I sat down on the street. But so much diversity, so much difference, so much change, so many things going on here in Ohio and in Columbus as a whole. I think 2023 is going to set an opportunity up for a lot of people to either succeed or fail. Unfortunately, there's going to be a percentage of people that there's the doers, the not doers, the success and fail. And then I think there's another line of people that just ride the tide, that don't have they have no desire to put an oar in the water at all. And those, like you said, with those relationships, I'm finding more and more that I have to, you can't play to the 500, you have to play to the 10 reel.
Right.
And that's so I'm learning a lot from you and from you, Alicia, and everybody else that's in the community. Like, I appreciate you guys for taking time to like educate me, because I know most commonly, like, I'll throw myself under the bus. Like, myself as a man, when I sit back and look at books and I think about other things, I've had to train myself to not think of that egotistical, like, oh, well, like, I don't want to read that, or I don't want to, like, it's been a lot of years, and I'm going to be 40 in August, and I feel like looking at it, I'm like, man, if you wouldn't have been this way for so long, maybe you would have, how many opportunities did you really miss out on being like that? Like, where would I be if I wouldn't have been like that?
You're having the mindset of failure. Well, to me, failure is not an option. Only growth is. Even if I don't get what I want, I'm going to take something away from it that's going to benefit me in the long run. And a lot of people don't have that mentality. They are stuck in this, when is my day going to come? Mm-hmm. It's like, make your own day. Mm-hmm. I have created this out of an idea that I got in my head when I was 19. I'm 45. It took me a long time to get here, but... I
mean, my mom opened her business at 66, 67.
Right.
That's hardcore.
Yeah.
Right. It's never too late to do what you've always had that dream about. Like, and I don't always think in terms of like success or failure.
Mm-hmm. No.
I'm just in the moment of doing the thing, and maybe that's because the writing projects I do take so long that you can just really mess yourself up about that. I'm spending like 10 years of my life on my current project. So it's not success or failure.
Yeah,
in the moment.
That. So speaking on that,
yeah.
Right? Since I have you here, you just happen to segue into it,
right?
So let's talk about that.
Well, I didn't mean literally 10 years. It's like a 10-year plan,
but
not like hyperbole.
Said, you're writing projects. What kind of projects is it that you write? Like, what do you?
Well, I'm only
about?
Doing one now because it takes all my time. Don't have time to do anything except an occasional blog post because I have to focus on the thing. But at the same time, I have to look at the big picture because it is such a long game. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So sometimes, it ebbs and flows. But I'm working on the biography of a musical theater performer. Her career was roughly from 1920 to 1940. She died in 1969. She was what I would say was maybe like a C-list celebrity back in the day. No one knows who she is today. She doesn't even have a wiki page. Not that that's, the be-all, end-all, but I was actually given her scrapbook, her professional scrapbook. You know how you get a scrapbook or a photo album. And you're like, I'm going to document my life going forward. I'm going to put all of the things in here. So she started in early 1920 when she was still studying. She was a singing student. She was in Memphis, and she was studying with a local diva, like an operatic diva who was from Memphis. And she was finishing up her schooling there. And by the end of the year, she was a professional. But it's just like chock full of stuff. For the first half, she has documented every newspaper mention. Back then, they loved to put things in the like social columns. Someone would have a party. It would make it to the paper. They would describe the flowers on the table, what the women wore, that kind of thing.
I kind of miss that.
Yeah.
I kind of miss that.
Right. I mean, I guess today we do that visually on Instagram, but back then it used to be in the newspaper column. So she did like everything, every theater program, and she just went to the theater. Every mention she had. At the start of her career, she's doing the same thing. Halfway through, it kind of drops off a little bit, and like there's 12 pages and aren't even full. But I was gifted that, some professional photos, family photos, her kindergarten scrapbook, which was from 1905 and 1906, which is beautiful. It's awesome. It's very delicate.
Did they paint the pictures in the yearbooks? Or did they no. They had the huge light bulb flashes, right? Back then?
These were I have a bunch of her school photos from the girls' school she went to. These were all taken probably from like 1910 to 1918. They're just sepia, all of these.
Wow.
Yeah. But the ones in her kindergarten scrapbook, they would have like a photo of, say, it's a pig with some flowers. And it was colored. And then on the bottom, there was one that she had to color in. And so the scrapbook is full, and it's like one's for January, for February. So it's just got like her little coloring in of all of these different images for the months, which is super cool. But I was given that from someone who goes in and clears out houses, and then they turn around and they sell it for charity. And this is something that couldn't be sold, and he was going to toss it, and then he thought of me. So he held on to it and gave it to me. He's like, you're the only person I know who would even want to look at this. And I flipped through it a little bit, chucked it away, didn't think anything of it for almost a year. And then I was going through, came across it, and decided to actually open it and look at it. And that's when I realized she was a performer. And I just couldn't get it out of my mind. And it was like, well, you're a writer. Just write about her.
That's awesome.
So that was just over 2 years ago. So I'm 2 years into that research phase, which is going to be probably 5 to 6 years total. I'm going to have to travel all over the U.S. She performed in 45 states. At that time,
So
there
you
were
said
48
you got some
states.
traveling to do?
Yes.
Hot damn.
Going to be Memphis, New York City, Chicago, the U.S. Virgin Islands,
Okay.
Pennsylvania,
That's Pennsylvania.
Iowa, Kansas.
Road trip. I'll document the whole thing. We'll
Woo!
go. We'll
Taking
do
the
it.
Volkswagen.
If somebody funds that, yes. Book research is
Yeah.
expensive,
Yeah.
especially 5 years worth, just with the travel and the things I have to buy.
Man.
Yeah,
But
it's,
how fun you're like learning about somebody that you're bringing somebody to life that
yes.
otherwise no one would have.
I think it'll be
Known
interesting
anything
for
about.
you. It'll be interesting for you to ride that piece of history,
Yeah.
to see like the road she traveled to get to Memphis then is not the road you're
No.
gonna travel
No.
to get to Memphis
No.
today.
No,
So, like,
completely different.
so I think like that whole, I think you're gonna have like a whole new edge to story writing, to biography as a whole. You know, I'm absolutely fascinated with the idea that you guys are able to take what you take, spin it, it's the same, and then just go and put it back out there, and it's everybody's like, oh, like whoa,
Yep.
you know, like you said with your mom on the book covers and stuff like that. Like, what kind of attention to detail does it take for somebody who loves that stuff so much to sit down and be like, huh, how can I make something already great better?
Yes.
You know,
And it requires so much attention to detail
yeah,
and a lot of patience and logic and just a lot of sitting there and sorting through every little thing. And it's like putting a puzzle together. but you start with, say, a 1,000 piece puzzle, and then all of a sudden it's 2,000 pieces, and then a few months later it's like 31,000 pieces.
But you're living this lady's life.
I am, and at first I was afraid that I wasn't going to have, there wouldn't be enough information about her, you know.
But you're finding
Yeah,
that
But
Google
there's a
only goes
whole
so far.
lifetime.
There's an overload of information. You know, she was written about so much back then, just in newspapers, hundreds and hundreds and
I
hundreds
imagine she was
of
a
newspaper
pioneer. She was a pioneer,
articles.
right, of her time for what she was doing? Because I know women didn't get a lot of love as far as all that was considered back then, right?
Yes, which is one reason that so many women like that, you don't know who they are.
Yeah.
You know, they work so hard for recognition, and there just isn't the documentation for most of these women versus the men. So that's definitely something you come up against. Just women's lives aren't as well documented.
I've always said that if we can make Amelia Earhart famous, why can't we make some of these other ladies who have the same kind of story? You know, like, I don't know, the female astronaut, the mathematicians, the ladies who planned
Yes,
out...
who made it possible.
Yeah, who made it even possible.
Yes.
They didn't, I mean... So I
And they're just now, in recent years,
Yeah.
being looked at
Yeah.
seriously.
It's almost like, again, like the old guard needs to get out and let the new guard in so that we can be experienced through these things. I feel like so many people are missing out.
Yes.
And I encourage everybody to grab a book, grab somebody, chat it up, you know. Find out about your history. Find out about you, who you are, what you are, you know, and not be afraid to answer the hard questions about yourself.
Yes.
When you do a biography about something or somebody, what are some steps that you could give advice to somebody who wants to do this? What would you say to somebody?
The most important thing is that you have to be passionate about who you're writing about, or it's not going to work, because it's a hard slog, and you have to be sustained by something. And if it's not passion, then what is it?
Yeah.
You'll give up along the way. So that is the most important thing. Don't force yourself to write about someone you're not into, because you're going to know more about them than you will know about anyone you've ever met, even though these people are dead or it's someone you don't actually know in person, but you will know more about them. I know more about her. I know more about the city of Memphis, a city I have never been to, but we'll be going to later this year. You know, I know more about the 1920s, although that's always been in my wheelhouse, but you just have to have that passion. That is what's going to drive you forward through years and years, because when you're writing a biography or working on a biography, you're dealing with facts and people who actually lived, real historical events, real circumstances, real hardships. It's not like fiction, which I also write. Some of that, yes, is based in reality, especially if you're writing like a period piece. You need to know what life was like in 1922 if it's set in 1922. But most of it comes from your head. When you're writing about a person, you're dealing in history and facts.
Yeah.
So it's just completely different, and that takes time. You know, you can't research something like that in 6 months.
Yeah.
It's years and years and years. When I first started, I was like, is this going to be 3, maybe 4 years? And within a month, I realized it was going to be at least 5 or 6 just on the research. The writing will be the easy part. But there's so much to discover that you also have to know that at some point you just have to stop. You will never know.
You know, like,
Right.
okay, this person
Yes.
has just a forever amount of, like, if someone tried to research me and do a good effing luck, because I have so much about me
Yes.
out there, and I have so many moving parts,
And then
so
if
many
you
moving components
go
that
forward-
leads you down so many different ways. It's
And then
like,
fast forward 75 years.
yeah,
Yeah.
Like after your
Exactly.
death.
right. So
And some of it will be harder to find, but then at some point they'll be like, oh my God, this is a treasure trove. Look how much stuff there was about Tiff.
And you could probably find extended family members along your journey. They're going to be
Yes.
like, wow, thank you
have
for
you
this.
come across anybody in her family? yet?
She had 2 living children. Her son died, did not have children. Her daughter has been much harder to track down. So there are multiple layers, but there are definitely some other family members in there, not directly related, not like grandchildren or anything, but there's definitely some people out there.
That is crazy.
But it's a lot of fun, I've been doing a lot of family tree work this week, so I've been staring at a lot of documents just online from, 1650, and just the eyesore. So if you're a biographer, prepare to have your eyes be really strained looking at census documents, all
glasses.
handwritten.
Bring your glasses and your magnifying
glass.
glass.
And I'm looking.
All of that's handwritten.
Yes.
It's not like you can just get it, pull it up on Google.
And I will be doing a lot of that in person, but when it comes to like census information. And
do you ever go to the library and pull up the old timey?
Not here.
You know what I'm talking about?
I have.
I did when I was growing up.
What's that called?
Microfiche.
Microfilm?
Microfiche?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember doing that in middle school and high school. Yes.
That was one of my favorite things, that sound. Like, as it changed.
Yeah.
So I've always loved that kind of thing. So this is like another reason this is so perfect a vocation for me. But I am looking forward to being able to do some of that in person in Memphis and these other places I have to go to.
It's like you'll be in the moment, like where she was.
Yes.
Like, this is where I am. I wonder if do you ever sense her around you when you're researching her?
It's in my
Anything weird happen?
Nothing weird, but she is literally in my studio. I have a writing studio, and I have this old record player that belonged to the people who built our house from around 1916, and we have old records from that time, from when she was like a teenager.
So cool.
So I'll, can put those on and listen to music that she would have listened to when she was 15 or 16.
Victrola? You have a Victrola?
It's another model from another company, but it is like that. It's awesome. Yeah, where you have to
so you put
wind
her,
it.
You put her favorite music on.
Yes, and I have a framed photo of her that came in this grouping of memorabilia that I was given, and it came framed, and it was a photo of her in the 1920s, and she actually, I keep that on top of this old record player, which is as big as a piece of furniture. So she's right behind my desk, and I can just swivel and look at her and remind myself, this is what you're doing. This is who you're doing it for.
That's what I have to do sometimes when I do voiceover work and I do any kind of advertising or anything. I have to put that thing up there, so that way, I'm always, because I get lost in the translation and I think what I'm doing is good, but I'm like, I need to. My ADHD mind is like, oh my god, I need to.
I have one of those too.
Yeah,
I understand.
I think all of us have that mindset,
Yes.
and I think a lot of people do have issues with the ADHD. It's either undiagnosed or they're in denial and they don't want to admit that they have it, which is totally fine. Up until recently, I was like, oh, this is just the way I am. It's just all over the place. But, wrangling it and definitely in what you're doing, you probably at some times are like, okay, I need to this isn't going down the road I thought it was going to go down.
Well, that's what's so nice. I have a list of all of the things I need to do. There's books I'm reading about general history, books about Memphis. There's documents I need to find, places I need to go. But because I'm doing this for myself and I know what works for me and how I can stay organized and focused, I'll do something until it's not working for me, then I will just move on to another task. And I know everything I need to do, and as long as I get things done in my time frame, it doesn't need to be A, B, C, D, E, F, all the way to Z. It can be A, D,
That's how I
C, N.
I like Z.
And that is what works for me to keep myself focused.
Yes,
So.
I'm the same way.
And I'm always adding things to the list, too, so it's always expanding.
Oh, yeah.
So it would be impossible to go in a really direct route, but it could really get to me.
Yeah,
if I focus too
can't
much.
sit there and check things off a list, right down the line. It's more like, okay, yep, did that, yep.
Yes, I have a big list, and I do check them
Yes.
off, but it's definitely not going down a column.
Yeah, it's definitely not start with shoe on, tie shoe, walk down the street. No.
I have walked around my apartment with one shoe on, talking on the phone oh, I gotta put my other shoe on.
So my husband's going to listen to this, and he's like, oh, they're talking about sock shoe.
Oh,
He's obsessed with
Yes.
the order of which one puts on one's socks and shoes. It's sock shoe. He will have a 5-minute discussion with you about why sock shoe is important.
See, I like him already because I'm the. All right, so you have 2 pieces of bread. what piece of bread do you put peanut butter on and what piece of bread do you put jelly on? There was an article in Huffington Post about what side of the brain you are when depending on what side you put your peanut butter and jelly on can determine the type of... I was like, who had the time to sit down and how did that even work? Did they walk in and all right, I need you, Karen, I need you, Mike, and Tom, I need you to put peanut butter slices of bread down and figure out which one you buy. That's
Make
crazy.
a sandwich.
Don't think about it, just do it.
Just do it. Yeah,
And I'm going to think about that the next time I do that.
Every time I do it. I make peanut butter jelly sandwiches for the kids all the time, and every time I do it, I'm like,
the pressure.
You try to make your mind do it differently, and you can't.
It just doesn't feel right.
It doesn't work. Man, but
I'm imagining myself making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich right now. Sometimes I totally put the peanut butter on one side and the jelly on the other, and sometimes I'm like peanut butter, jelly, put the bread on.
Right.
I don't care.
Or
it's all the time. It's all timing.
The epic debate of the butter and the crumbs from the bread and the butter, So anyway, we had a great show today. Thank you guys for coming in and hanging out. We're venting about all the things we don't like. But, I want to give a shout out to Austen House Books today and everybody who has been part of the show. Also, I want to give a shameless plug to this awesome coffee church.
Let's give another
Tea.
clink
Yes.
tea.
Churchill's tea. Churchill's
Sweet.
Fine Teas.
Right
In
on.
Cincinnati.
Yes, they're at Findlay Market, and I believe they had one at Rookwood, and they moved to Hyde Park Square, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but they're definitely at Findlay Market. And they're online, and they ship anywhere, and they ship the next day. They really have their act together.
We should do a podcast from there.
Yeah, I'm liking the spill the tea
I know, that's
thing.
fun.
Check in with us. What's my spill the tea? What's been going on for the last month? Yeah, let's
That would be
make
fun.
it. We can
make it happen. Make it
Let's
so.
go to church shows.
Alicia, thank you for coming in.
It's my pleasure.
It was
It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was definitely, when you sit down and do a podcast, you're like, how is this going to go? I love the environment here at Wanderlust Studio. We have a lot of stuff coming up here. What is your next big thing, Alicia, that you want to put out there?
I don't know if it's my next big thing. It's my current thing.
Your current thing, that's fair.
I do document my biography adventures on a website. It's alternativemuses.com.
Okay.
Alternativemuses.com. There's a blog aspect to it. I also have a shameless plug on my website for my coffee.
Yeah.
So that if anyone wants to donate money, it goes straight to my research.
What was the name of that again?
Alternativemuses.com.
Got it.
There's some pictures of the woman I'm writing about on
We're
there.
doing this live, people.
Yes.
So if you hear typing, we're doing this live during the show.
Yes, that is her. That's actually my favorite photo of her that's on the landing page.
Wow, look how beautiful
Yes.
she is.
See, something about women back then, it's just... I don't know. I'm Italian and Irish. I'm really old-fashioned. And when you look at this picture, that is beauty, These
And that's
filters,
from her vamp phase, too.
Yeah, you think about today's filters and all this crap they put on. Man, what? That's not Photoshop.
It's not. I mean, they did retouching of photos.
Well, yeah.
But it's not to the extent that we
Not
know
like
it today.
that.
Yeah.
So,
Not like today.
and that's actually the photo that is in my studio.
I love that picture.
I know. I absolutely adore it as well.
Wow. That's so crazy. I don't... go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. So I'm just taking over.
No,
If
you're
you,
good.
so there's the blog page that lets people know what I'm up to, because you never know what you're going to find when you're researching books. I come across really interesting things all the time. Some of it has to do with her, some of it doesn't. But when you're constantly in archives and looking at old stuff, you're bound to find something interesting. So these are some photos from her life. That's a school picture. She is that little girl right there.
Wow. Wow. I just can't
Yeah,
even...
some studio
Look at that.
portraits.
I
Yes.
love that so much.
We're going to make sure we put links to all your
Awesome.
stuff in the podcast. So across all streaming platforms, you guys will be able to click the link in the description and go right to these websites. And
And then you'll know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So we're just sitting here looking at photos that you can't see.
Yeah, well, podcasters know. They
Yes.
know
They probably got other tabs open, ready to
Yes.
go. Like, what am I going to
Yeah, oh,
learn
yeah.
today? So,
I'm that way.
yeah. But I really appreciate you coming in today. What is one piece of advice you'd like to leave with somebody?
Oh my goodness, put me on the spot.
Yes,
It
ma'am.
could be anything, Alicia.
Could be anything.
What is your tea for the day?
Yeah,
My
what's
tea
your,
for
what's
the
your
day.
tea for the day?
You know, I guess just inspired by my mom, it's never too late to do the thing you want to do. Whether it's something you've been dreaming about for 50 years or it's just something you decided you wanted to do last week, it's never too late to move forward. As long as you're breathing, you can go forward.
Yes, take that chance.
Yes, and it's also okay to change your path too. You don't
can
have to
change your
stick
mind.
with the thing that's not working.
Right, you can
But
always change your mind.
yes.
Always.
And don't be afraid to fail. Just do what you want to do because you don't want to have that regret later on in your life. So,
Cheers to that. Woo! Thank you, Alicia.
you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
All right, Alicia, thank you for coming in today. I really appreciate you. I know you had a long drive, and it's really...
Yes, I did. From around the corner.
And for those of you who don't know, it is Ohio outside today. It is like, I don't know, less than 20 outside today. So bundle up, stay warm if you are one of those people. But Tiffany, would you like to throw anything in before we end the show here?
I'm selling cookies now here in the studio. You should come and get some. They are from the Vegan Affair. I have no-bake cookies and pumpkin chip cookie. These are all vegan. right?
Everything
all the
vegan is
I'm
in it.
looking at the
Yep.
ingredients and
All organic and vegan.
organic and delicious.
Yep.
And they will be here at the studio. So come see me.
All right, guys, thank you so much. I am Ant-Man. Make sure you check out mfp614.com for all the latest and new updates and all that. Don't forget, the podcast drops brand new every Thursday at midnight, so you guys will be able to check it out for the weekend in time to check out for the next one next week. Who is our guest next week? Do we have that locked in yet?
Who's going to be in the hot seat?
Who's in the hot seat next week? It is the 9th. I think Sabrina with New Belgium,
Ooh.
Ohio.
Right
Oh.
on. Awesome.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Tentatively.
Tentatively. So, next episode, we might be liquored up. Stay tuned.
Woo! It's
But-
a party.
All right, guys, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Have a great rest of your day. Stay safe and stay warm. See ya.